Hello. Thank you for joining me on Delighting in Him Ministries. And my name is Antonia Simmons. And I am so glad to be able to come to you again with our next installment from our Bible study in the book of James. Today we'll be coming from James chapter 1, 9 through 12. And it reads, But let the brother of humble circumstances glory in his high position, and let the rich man glory in his humiliation, because like flowering grass, he will pass away. For the sun rises with a scorching wind and withers the grass, and its flowers fall off, and the beauty of its appearance is destroyed. So too the rich man in the midst of his pursuits will fade away. Blessed is a man who perseveres under trial, for once he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. In this passage, James is just simply reminding us about our different position or station or status in life. You have those that are, he said, in humble or blessed with a humble situation, humble circumstances, those that are poor, and then those in their humiliation, those with wealth and riches. Poor and rich alike both need God. Poor and rich alike both have a calling from God. Both can be and are blessed by God. But sometimes we're slipped up in our temptation where we begin to compare ourselves with one another. And that is something we should not do. We do not need to believe that because we have riches and because we have wealth, and especially during this holiday time, that many that can go out and buy nice things for others. Nothing wrong with that. But we're never to mistake in the blessings of God or the wealth and riches that we or one may have as to be the only stamp of approval of God's blessings. It's not. His blessings are so much more greater. And we're never to believe because we don't have a lot or we don't have the means or wherewithal to be able to obtain certain material possessions that we're not blessed by God. Both are tempted to believe this lie that if we have things or if we don't have things, then God is not for us. God does not put value on what we have. We are already intrinsically valuable because God created us. And so then our value doesn't come from what we have or do not possess. It comes from God. And so we need to be careful of comparing ourselves to one another. You know, in life, we compare ourselves in all different times in our life. Women, the length of our hair or our weight, how much we weigh, whether you might feel you need to lose weight, lose the baby weight that you had for 10, 20 years, or maybe you feel like you haven't gained enough weight. But on and on that temptation, we look at social media, we wish that our lives might have been like them, kind of asking ourselves questions, why isn't my life like you fill in the blank? And so that is not the way that we are to live. That is not the way we are to think, that that's the only way God is to bless. And so James reminds us of our humble circumstances, whether you have means or not have means, our humble circumstances when we feel like we don't have a lot. My goodness, when not having a lot, it is an opportunity to see how God can bless your life. It is an opportunity to be blessed by God and have Him to provide for you and I. And so, yes, I can remember lots of days, lots of times where I prayed for different things, where I had to believe God to provide different things that my family needed right on time. Some things I felt like, well, I got to have faith to pray for food or pray for the mortgage to be paid or the rent to be paid. But God is faithful and He came through every time. We long for where we would just have the money in the bank, where we long for the times where we could just go and do what we need to do and don't have to have faith to pray for whatever that need is. You fill in the blank. But it's still a blessing to see how God provides. And He really does provide. And we have His promises that He will provide every need according to His riches and glory. And so then in verse 10, He said, let the rich man glory in his humiliation. Riches are temporary. Poverty is temporary as well too. Riches, he said, they grow, they're beautiful like beautiful flowers, but then they pass away. They're temporary, they're transient, they don't last always, right? We cannot get tricked or tempted or sidetracked in comparing ourselves, comparing our blessings to others, because what another has and what we don't have. We must be fully persuaded, fully convinced that we are blessed by God, whatever is going on in our lives. We cannot believe the lie that because we've fallen short or we have done some great sin that we want to walk under condemnation. I said that we want to walk under condemnation. We need to let that go. Take off the burden. Get rid of that oppression. Get rid of those lies and replace it with truth. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. God is faithful. He's a good God. He's a faithful Father, and He will take care of us. We all have our own calling. So stop comparing yourselves to where you are at and what your race and your lane looks like, because we all are running for a prize. We all that are believers are running to glorify our great God. We all have a calling, and we need to stay focused and not get tripped up by the things in life, not get tripped up by things that are glittering, things that are flashing, the flashing new iPhone, the new iPad, if you will, the new and bigger house, the new whatever it is that we really desire. We can't get tripped up, and we can't be so deceived and put down others that we think, well, I got this. I acquired this. I went to school. I got my degree and whatever. No, you got it because God is good to you, just as He is to the one who has a little bit more needs or a lot more needs than you. Stay humble. Love God. See yourself as one who's blessed by God to be able to give to others. Right now in Thanksgiving season, it is a giving season right now. Who can you bless and give to? And then those who feel like you don't have anything to give, maybe you can't give material blessings, but perhaps you can give your time. There are soup kitchens and different places to help feed the homeless. Some place, some kind of way we can give. Writing to those in the military, sending care packages to those in the military. We can do so much than look at our own state and think we're something that we're not, or look at ourselves and think we're not when God said we are somebody in Him. And so I just want to encourage us today that we need to shift our focus. Instead of looking at our trials, instead of looking at things and trying to acquire more things, we need to focus and look on the eternal one. We need to remember that Jesus is the only one who can satisfy our soul. We need to remember that wealth and status does not make us valuable to God, that He's not using us or use us more because of what we have and don't have. Don't bite into the lie. Don't bite that fruit and chew on the fruit, the lie of wealth and status and riches being more blessed by God. It's not. Don't look at the flashing lights. Don't look at the things that are glittering and gold, but look at the one who is light. Look at the one who created all light, and He wants us to be illuminaries, to reflect His light on the earth and really walk as children of light, to show those that are in darkness, that need the guidance, that need the light that we have, the joy and the peace, the true riches, the love that we have, the true riches of the kingdom of God, Jesus, the true riches, and pointing them back to Him. Point people back to Christ, not what you have. Point people to Christ and not walking around sour, if you will, because you don't have. Remember God. Remember who He called you to be. And remember that you are blessed. And remember that this is temporary. Our lives on this side of glory is temporary, and there is greater to come. So don't look at the things which are seen, which are temporal, but look at the things which are unseen, that are eternal. And our great God is eternal. He loves you and I. And so tonight, or today rather, He just wants to remind us that we are blessed. No matter what is going on in life, you are blessed. If you're going through a trial, James reminds us to count it all joy. And we can indeed count it all joy when we have the proper perspective, when we have a proper view of God and who He is and what He allowed in our lives. Then we can have joy in our suffering. Then we can have peace in our suffering. And it is the only way that we are able to do it. So I pray that you are encouraged today. I pray that you will not look at your life as the way that the world will dictate how our lives are to be looked at. In God's kingdom, I'd love to say in a study that I'm reading, it's an upside down kingdom. It doesn't match the way, it doesn't look like how the world expects prosperity or expects being blessings to be. The world has a warped way in view of looking at things, but God's way is blessed and eternal, and it is the right way, the righteous way. So yes, you can have joy whether you have a lot or whether you have a little, whether we experience life in feast times or in famine times, we in want or we're in need, or where we feel we have plenty. But God is the same God today, yesterday, and tomorrow, and forever. And so that is the God we are to rejoice in. And so you can be blessed in your trials and knowing this proper perspective, that God is for you, that he is not against you, that God has purpose for your life, purpose in your pain, and that he wants you to see the greatness of who you are through his eyes. Get the proper perspective. Love God. Remember that you are blessed. Remember that what you have is also to be a blessing to him and to bless others. And never doubt how awesome our great God is. I pray that you are blessed today. I pray that you will look up and see God. And I pray in this season of giving that you will see what you have to give instead of comparing yourself and seeing what you don't have and what you want. God bless you and keep you tonight.